Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. Here was an update for my PvE Dragonknight tank T3 and what I've used in these videos to complete the new veteran dungeons, Dread Cellar, Red Petal Bastion, all the hard modes. In this video, what I'm going to cover is the basics for the build, how you can adapt it as a beginner, a group and 4-player content, as well as 12-player trials. We're going to cover all the usual suspects: gear, champion points, skills, race, consumables, mundus, and more. Buckle up. T3, quick update. First things up is, should you play this build? Dragonknight tanks is one of the most durable with great resource sustain and crowd control and insane self-healing. Essentially, you're going to want to pick this build up whether you're new to tanking or endgame looking for something that works with meta loadouts. The only downside I can really see about the Dragonknight tank is it lacks the major vulnerability buff that the Necro provides, but otherwise it's been one of and is currently one of the strongest tanks in the game. The skills that I use in the loadout are highly flexible, so I'm going to list them out for you, and then some options that I swap in and out. So context matters here. You're going to have to swap in abilities or out depending on if you're lacking a strong healer, if you're in a trial, if you're doing dungeon trifecta runs, and so on. Working left to right on our front bar, which is Sword and Shield, Unrelenting Grip. The strength of this pulls in mobs, trash pulls specifically. And an extra benefit that's undervalued is it does proc Major Expedition, giving you a burst of mobility. Very helpful in some of the new dungeons. Pierced Armor, this is a single target taunt that reduces armor significantly, essentially allowing more damage per your team. You're going to want to keep this on the priority boss and make sure your stamina is available. Plus, this is going to proc an extra healing with our Master Sword and Shield. More on that in the gear later. I go with Igneous Shield, so this is a front bar major mending cast. It's also going to provide minor brutality if you're playing stamina builds, as well as give you stamina via the Earth and Heart passives. Note this is your flex spot, and if you want to literally play a 1-bar build, what I would do is swap in Green Dragon's Blood up here, which gives you a nice self-heal. And then you essentially have 1 bar you could stay on at all times. Next skill up is Engulfing Flames, and this is kind of an odd one, but what it's going to do is allow more flame damage. So if you're playing in a group with a lot of magic builds, whether it's dungeons or trials, this is going to add a lot of damage, but it can be complicated and hard to maintain at all times. There's a couple different options that I flex in and out. If I'm doing something like 3 DPS, 1 tank, I'll swap in Cauterize here. This is a massive heal. Single target, it can heal you or group members, and it can really get you by in a pinch. Plus, if you hit Igneous Shield, you're going to get a little flood of major mending, and that burst heal makes a big difference. Another thing, if you wanted just a super ultra easy build, is put Revealing Flare from the Alliance War support skill line. This is going to reduce damage merely for slotting it. Consider it a dead spot, but it makes the build much simpler. Last ability up is Heroic Slash, single target debuff, so it's going to lower the damage done by the mob and boost our ultimate generation, which leads to resource sustain for us as a Dragonknight. The ultimate of choice is Magma Shell. It's an insane survivability tool that does provide a burst shield to group members around you. You can experiment with this specific one or the Alliance War support barrier, but I prefer Magma Shell. Second bar is Ice Staff, and this is going to be used for heals, buffs, and debuffs. The very first ability up is Balance. It's basically infinite magic sustain at the cost of health with an added benefit of armor buff that lasts a very long time. Frost Quench is the primary reason we're going to use of Ice Staff. This is a 15-meter range taunt that also provides major maim, reducing damage done. So we'll have basically major and minor maim on the bosses at all time. Very good, and it's really noticeable if you're able to maintain it. However, flex in Inner Rage from Undaunted if you struggle with the 15-meter radius. So you're going to have to be flexible with this specific spot. Also on the back bar is Green Dragon's Blood. This is a good heal. It's going to give us some sustain, increased healing while it's active, as well as proc Magma Incarnate, our monster helm that we're going to use in dungeons. Single target heal. Also make sure that you keep it up at all times due to the passives. Elemental Blockade. This is going to be AoE damage heal. It's going to have a chance to proc Brittle, increasing damage for your team. And it's Immobilize. It's just a really good skill. But again, it's quite complex to sit there and reliably keep up engulfing flames and elemental blockades and do constant bar swaps. If you struggle with that and you're that type of player that might die in between a bar swap, no worries. It's double slot Revealing Flare. This again is going to reduce damage, giving you major protection. So you put Revealing Flare on your front bar in the slot 4, and you put it in your back bar on the slot 4, or whatever you decide, and consider it a dead spot, but making your build much simpler. Last ability up is Echoing Vigor. This is a strong heal over time. It's going to heal group members as well as proc our 5-piece powerful assault. So if you have this along with Cauterize and Green Dragon's Blood, you're going to have a lot of healing both for yourself and the group, making this build and Dragonknight specifically excellent for running 3 DPS, 1 tank, trifecta speedruns. Aggressive Warhorn, it is what it is, been around forever. Massive stat, damage increase to the group with major force and increasing your max stamina and magic. Rotate it with your healers typically, especially in trials. So moving on, how do you actually use these skills? Your priority is to keep your armor buff up on your back bar. So keep this up along with Green Dragon's Blood. Those two things are going to keep you alive and you sustaining. Next, you're going to cast Elemental Blockade and Engulfing Flames when you can. That's going to add DPS to your party. Obviously, you have to taunt. Pierced Armor is your priority. It's melee. It's going to reduce their armor, adding damage, along with getting major maim from Destructive Staff Quench. So you're trying to provide both debuffs to the boss if at all possible, using magic or stamina. And then keep yourself alive by using Green Dragon's Blood when your health is low, Echoing Vigor over time, and Cauterize if you have it on your bar. And don't forget to proc Igneous Shield here and there for extra stam recovery and a big boost of major mending. Okay, so we have 3 different gear set loadouts. This gear set is the beginner we're going to start with. This is ideal for someone, let's say just starting out, 160, 300 champion points. They don't have access to monster helms, and you really just need a place to start. And this is what I recommend, Witchman's Armor. This is an overland set that you can find in the Rift. You can collect it by defeating Dell bosses, Dolmen, world bosses, etc. And what it's going to do is pair well with what you already have in Battle Roar, essentially giving you resources, heal, and stamina and magicka per how much ultimate you cast. So essentially it's double dipping. As a new tank, you're going to struggle with resource sustain and keeping up your buffs while holding block. This will help you. Plus you can access it at level 10 or endgame, doesn't matter. Fortified Brass is a 4-trait craftable set in Clockwork City, easy to get. You also can buy it on the traders. Why is it effective? It just adds a lot of armor, making you tankier. Very simple and easy to obtain, making you take less damage, and you have a resource sustain with Witchman's. Third set is Endurance, found in Imperial City or through Dungeon Finder Rewards of the Worthy. A 2-piece only is going to be active. Why this is useful is if you lack a monster helm, you can get this big max stat pool of health as a 2-piece. However, as you start doing dungeons, swap in monster helms as you get them. Some that are really good for starters, Bloodspawn, Engine Guardian, Sentinel, and so on. So swap that out and put a monster helm on. Now you've been doing dungeons for a while, you're ready to rock and roll, we're starting to rip it and grip it. This setup here is for dungeons. Specifically, what I built it out for is 3 DPS, 1 tank, running trifecta runs. So it's super survivable and durable with a couple of options. The monster helm is going to be Magna Incarnate, and this is going to be procced via our Green Dragon's Blood. The 1 piece is strong in and of itself, plus it's going to provide minor courage and minor resolve. Not with 100% uptime, but when you really need it. This is fantastic group damage buff along with taking less damage via the minor resolve. If you don't have it or you're working towards it or you struggle with sustain, always go with staples like Engine Guardian, Sentinel, or Bloodspawn. Those are very good. The main 5-piece options, you have a couple here. So Battalion's Defender is extremely strong at you surviving. It's obtained in Cyrodiil PvP Reward of the Worthies and can be bought on traders very cheap. After you block, you heal yourself and group members within 15 meters for health, depending on your max health. At around 45,000 health, I'm healing a lot and very frequently. Plus, if you're playing with other stamina builds, this will keep them up extremely well, making it ideal for survivability. Let's say you're you don't need help with survivability, then I'd go with Drake's Rush from Black Drake Fillet. When you bash an enemy, you 3 group members in 15 meters will gain major heroism for 12 seconds, granting you ultimate. This is good for damage, recovery, sustain, name it, you got it here with Drake's Rush, and you're going to be constantly bashing. Even if you don't need to interrupt, you can proc it by just bashing. Very, very good, especially as a Dragonknight, getting our resources back from using ultimates. 2 great options. On our back bar, Powerful Assault and our jewelry is going to be procced via Echoing Vigor. This is going to give weapon and spell damage to the group and is extremely strong, though it has a range of 10 meters. This can be found in Imperial City sewers, along with being sold on the trader, and is a priority regardless of what you're playing. I would invest in this. Getting a Frost Staff, it's expensive, but trust me, it's worth it. If you don't have the time, patience, or gold to get to Powerful Assault, you can always go with Torg's Pack Infused Crusher Enchant on the back bar. Will make pretty good do. And then our front bar, we got 2 slots left, and we're going to go with Master's Weapon. So this is going to add healing taken, and when you do a puncture, you do your main taunt, you're going to heal a lot and gain physical and spell resistance for the amount of healing done for 5 seconds. The heal is significant based off your max health again, so you're going to be extremely survivable. I went with an alternative to the Vatishram weapons, the Void, and it calls in kind of groups up mobs and also gives major maim and an AoE. That is a good option if you don't need healing and you like that ability. Next up is Trials, and what you're going to do if you're interested in doing Trials, you're going to swap Monster Helms to Encratis Behemoth. This is found in Black Drake's Fillet. This is going to, flame damage is going to proc this effect where it's going to increase the group inside of the 12-meter radius damage by 5% and reduce flame damage taken. This is a fantastic set for Trials, coordinated people that are stacking and getting combat prayers and really trying to ramp up their damage. Next up is Claw of Yalkrins, or Yalins, or however you say it. Essentially what this is going to do is a better version of what Magma Incarnate's going to do. It's going to give minor courage for 15 seconds to 12 people, essentially your trial. And it's possible to have 100% uptime. So typically 1 tank in a trial is going to run this at all times to make sure everyone gets this buff with near 100% uptime. Another set that you can run is a really, really powerful one that just came out is Crimson Oath. This set is going to reduce armor by a significant amount, over 3,500, and stacks with major and minor fracture, adding a lot of DPS to your group. So consider that a flex spot. Again, we're going to go with Powerful Assault on our back bar and with the Master's Weapon on the front. Very, very good loadout. If I were playing this, I would go with the Nord first or Imperial. Both are very, very strong for racial choices. The Nord is nice because it gives you max stam, max health, a little bit of frost resistance, but it's going to increase your physical and spell resistance by a significant amount. That is very, very handy if you want to be tanky, along with gaining ultimate, making it a perfect fit among Dragonites. Don't sleep on Imperial though. The reduced cost by 6% not only applies to your abilities, but it applies to blocking and dodging as well. So that red diamond reduction in ability is one of the biggest game changers. Argonian is a good option as well. Increase your healing done. You're going to get a little bit of max stats and kind of a unique effect when you drink potions, but I don't consider it nearly as strong as the other two. Food, if you can afford it, go with the Bewitched Sugar Skulls, max stats across the board, and tripods. For the Munda Stone, pretty simple here. I go with the Lord, increasing max health, trying to aim for right around 45,000 max health, all attributes into health. Champion points, the 4 and the Blue Tree Warfare. I'm going to go with Duelist Rebuffed, reduced damage by single target, Ironclad, reduced damage taken by direct damage, Unassailable, reduced damage by AoE, Enduring Resolve, reduced damage over time. Very simple setup. In fitness, I'm going to go with Expert Evasion as one of my slottables. Since I do dodge roll a lot, consider this a flexible one. Pick your poison on what you like. Boundless Vitality, max health increase, pretty simple here. Fortify is going to give you extra armor. And then also Bracing Anchor is going to reduce your damage mitigation while blocking significantly. You can expect a huge survivability increase with this one. And then the Craft Tree, really don't need to go over this, but Steed's Blessing, increase your out of combat, Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, and Treasure Hunter. So I'm going to skip a lot of the gameplay. This was just a quick update. I'm going to link the 2 videos that gives you my point of view on tanking and kind of my walkthrough on this. And tanking has gotten a lot easier in this patch because of those champion point changes. There's a lot of new, cool, interesting gear sets. This is just what I've used in both trials and dungeons. Please feel free to change it based on what you use. There's a lot of different ways to play a tank, but I see very few people playing them, and you're always likely to get a group as playing a tank because no one wants to do it. Slap a sword and shield on the front, put an ice staff on the back, and you'll never go without a group. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my Patreons for sponsoring this video. And if you would like to be featured in future end credits, link in the description below.